Hello, everybody. It's Sunday, December 29th, and I have an important update that I just couldn't resist sharing with you, which is about the letter from former FBI and CIA Director William Webster saying that Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel are not fit to serve as Director of National Intelligence and FBI. And here he is. William Webster writes letter to senators that the safety of the American people depends on the Senate rejecting Patel and Gabbard. Now, Bill Webster is 100 years old. Why is he crawling out of his hole to stage such a fight? And I have some direct experience with him in my history with Lyndon LaRouche, which I would like to share with you. Here is a letter, and I'll show you a close-up. Maybe you can see the date there, August 19th, I think, 1982, from Henry A. Kissinger to William Webster, the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, about the subject of Lyndon LaRouche. Let's scroll in a little so you can see it. Dear Bill, I appreciated your letter forwarding the flyer, which has been circulated by Lyndon LaRouche Jr. Because these people have been getting increasingly obnoxious, I have taken the liberty of asking my lawyer, Bill Rogers, to get in touch with you to ask your advice, especially with respect to security. It was good to see you at the Grove, Bohemian Grove, don't ask about that, and I look forward to the chance to visit again when I am next in Washington. Warm regards, and this is 16th of September, or September 23rd, 1982, Henry A. Kissinger, and we'll go to the other just so you can see, declassified in 1984, but it is indeed to William H. Webster, Director of the FBI, from Henry Kissinger, and it is dealing with Lyndon LaRouche. Now, why is this significant? We'll get to that, and what does this have to do with Tulsi Gabbard? Lyndon LaRouche in 1975 was working on a peace plan for Israel and Palestine, a two-state solution based on greening the desert. He had secured a pledge of credit from the Ba'ath Party of Iraq. He was supposed to have a meeting at the home, I believe, of the Iraqi ambassador to Paris with many of the diplomats from the region to work out a plan for greening the deserts, creating massive industry, raising the standard of living, the real only basis for peace. Henry Kissinger personally flew to Paris to sabotage that meeting. Kissinger made it his business to follow LaRouche all over the globe, either literally or in harassment and threat of any heads of state and others that LaRouche was working with to establish a new, just economic order that respected the sovereignty of nations. Bill Webster, then head of the FBI, clearly was a close friend of Henry A. Kissinger. So what was the result of this collaboration? This 400 FBI agents raiding LaRouche's home and office in an attempt to shut down his organization, to even assassinate him, as we learned later. And ultimately, the government shut down nearly all of LaRouche's publications in a fraudulent bankruptcy operation, and dozens of LaRouche's associates, including Lyndon LaRouche, were sent to prison. So, being attacked by Bill Webster is probably the biggest endorsement anyone could get for why they should serve in those positions. And I'm going to share with you now what Bill Webster had to say in his letter. Here it is again in the Hill. Former director of both FBI, CIA cautions against Patel and Gabbard. So what does he have to say? Writing to Senators, Webster, who was aged 100 and who was appointed by both Democrat and Republican presidents, called on them to weigh the critical importance of nonpartisan leadership and experience, and suggested that Patel and Gabbard, this is in the London Guardian, by the way, possessed neither attribute. Quote, "The safety of the American people and your own families depends on it," he wrote, emphasizing the importance of Senate confirmation hearings that will scrutinize the two nominees. Webster, who was appointed as FBI director by Jimmy Carter under the influence of another treasonous criminal, Zbigniew Brzezinski, I might add, that's not in the article, in 1978, took aim at Patel's suitability to head the Bureau, implying that he exhibited an overzealous loyalty to Trump that could undermine the rule of law and set a dangerous precedent. Why should the FBI director be loyal to the President of the United States? Gee, I don't know. Seems to me that might be important. We want a stable government. We don't want a coup going on against our elected leadership. Quote, more from Webster, "While Mr. Patel's intelligence and patriotism are commendable, his close political alignment with President Trump raises serious concerns about impartiality and integrity. His record of executing the president's directives, like debunking Russiagate, suggests a loyalty to individuals rather than the rule of law, a dangerous precedent for an agency tasked with impartial enforcement of justice." We've seen how impartial the FBI has been, raiding the home of Roger Stone, my friend Scott Ritter, and all just coincidentally, the NBC television cameras were there at the same time, just as they were in the LaRouche case. Patel has publicly vowed to pursue Trump's enemies if confirmed, and has said one of his first acts as director would be to close the FBI's Washington headquarters and open it as a museum to the deep state while dispersing agents across the US. Now, that's a fine idea. Maybe it could be a wax museum. And I think they should get out of their offices, stop harassing and spying on Americans, and actually track down some actual criminals. Maybe we should send them up to Wall Street. I know there's a lot of criminals there. And let's go on here. Webster, who was appointed director of the CIA by Ronald Reagan in 1987 and subsequently served under another Republican president, George H.W. Bush, also questioned Gabbard's credentials to be director of national intelligence, a role that would put her in overall charge of 18 intelligence agencies. Now, I thought it was 17. Remember, we heard 17 intelligence agencies. Said the Steele dossier was legitimate. Remember that? And they had to eat crow. Turned out it wasn't true. Turned out there were all kinds of problematic sources. Anyways, now there's 18 intelligence agencies. Quote, "Gabbard's profound lack of intelligence and experience." She's a lieutenant colonel in the National Reserve, Army National Reserve. Her profound lack of intelligence and experience in the daunting task of overseeing 18 disparate intelligence agencies further highlight the need for seasoned leadership. Yeah, people like himself, a total corrupt deviant who has no concern for the future of the United States. Let's go on. Quote, "Effective management of our intelligence community requires unparalleled expertise to navigate the complexities of global threats and to maintain the trust of allied nations." Yeah, like Micronesia, which has been with us every step of the way in arming Ukraine and Israel, etc. Without that trust, our ability to safeguard sensitive secrets and collaborate internationally is severely diminished. The nomination of Gabbard, a former Democrat presidential contender turned Republican, has alarmed many members of the intelligence community, I would say, who have something to hide, who have cited her previous friendliness toward the recently ousted Syrian dictator. And by the way, who was he ousted by? A head chopper, terrorist, Bashar Assad, who is now considered a moderate, and we suddenly no longer have a bounty on his head because he's now running Syria thanks to ISIS, a bunch of Ukrainian neo-Nazis, and the Israelis and the Muslim Brotherhood out of Turkey. She has also been criticized for repeating pro-Kremlin talking points in Russia's war with Ukraine, like Ukraine will not win this war, fueling suspicions that she has been groomed by Russia. So, this is beyond absurd. Think about the brilliant record of our intelligence agencies, not just the 17 who said that Russiagate was a thing and the Steele dossier was legitimate. How about the 15 former intelligence experts? I don't know if Bill Webster was among them, who said the Hunter Biden laptop was a fraud. Remember that? It was Russian disinformation. And then, turned out to be true. How about the Iraqi weapons of mass destruction? How about Assad using chemical weapons supposedly to gas his own people when he wouldn't even use them against ISIS that was trying to overthrow him? We have been fed so much baloney by these lying intelligence agencies that they are terrified of Tulsi Gabbard's truthfulness relatively when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to the perpetual wars, the non-existent weapons in Iraq, etc. And Kash Patel, who was assigned by Trump to do some work on Russiagate and demonstrated, among many other demonstrations, that the thing was a complete fraud. You know, it's interesting. The DNC server was hacked, and what was revealed was Hillary Clinton's emails on planning to steal the Democratic nomination from Bernie Sanders. But we never hear about that. We just hear that it was Russia, even though there was no evidence whatsoever. So, to reiterate, I would like to express my support for these two appointments. I think Bill Webster should crawl back under a rock and have a pleasant retirement and stop trying to destroy not only the reputation, but the safety of the United States and our citizens.